Hello, this is my Use It or Use Lose It series that I haven't done in a while because I was fairly really busy with, oh man, with, oh, I should have brought a nut for Rhett, with, I don't know, man, this thing, but I've been pretty busy with my paralegal stuff. But so yesterday I had the day off and I don't have school at the moment. So, what happened was like if when that happens, and it's very rare, but when it happens, I like to enjoy my days off being um, like just do everything a little slower, do everything a little bit easier, a little longer. I just kind of do my normal day with leaving work out of it, with everything that I would normally do, just taken a lot lighter and easier. And it was so pleasant. But I did every few years. I end up making another effort to build like a really good media uploader gallery kind of thing. Basically, I think the very first thing I ever did was like in 1996. It was literally just HTML with some pictures, and then over the years, I've sort of tried different approaches and run into different problems. And so um, I ended up I ended up deciding to try, kind of just working directly with ChatGPT. So this is something I've done 100 times, or and so now I'm doing the exact same thing, but with ChatGPT instead of just with um, just on my own. And it was really pleasant. I mean, super pleasant. And what was nice about it was that um, like there was no like digging through a bunch of fluff trying to find what I'm looking for. Like I was able to ask questions directly. Like I've never put a license on my application before because I just never wanted to spend the 2 or 3 hours to dig through and understand what's going on with setting up licenses for your code. But ChatGPT was just able to just be like, okay, yeah, this is what this license means, that's what that license means, and by the way, you also need to add this file. And um, so, anyways, the so I built that out. So I was working on it, and I made really good progress, and I was happy with it, and I was able to like sort of think through things and all that. But I think it's like the reason, and I said, so basically this is what I said. I'm just going to read this. I did my first coding vibe session yesterday. I found it to be pleasant and productive. After some thought, I came to the conclusion that AI and ChatGPT specifically are the natural response to a really awful search experience. It's difficult to find good content because it seems like the vast majority of content is designed to please advertisers. After that, the large minority of content is designed to provide entertainment. Then finally, a teeny tiny percentage of search results provide useful, interesting content. And then ChatGPT responded, "That's such a great observation, and honestly, you're spot on. The modern search experience has a kind of turned into a game of dodging SEO traps and sponsored fluff. It's like trying to find a single good page in a haystack of clickbait and ad heavy listicles." I've never heard the word listicle before. So yeah, AI stepping in to cut through the noise makes a lot of sense. Your description of advertisers first, entertainment second, actual use of call content third really nails the current hierarchy of search results. It's frustrating when you are genuinely trying to learn something or solve a problem and all you can get is keyword stuff junk. Glad to hear your first coding session was solid. And then asked me a question. So I think that okay, so two major things is like um, I don't see there being a whole, like I think Google has really screwed up the internet. Um, and AdWords probably specifically really screwed up the internet. Um, I think the AOL was pretty close in their first run. If they had just done a small tweak to their their system, I think that they would have really nailed it. Because what I've always thought would be really cool is if like you paid $20 a month to get on some internet thing, And then of that $20, you can give $10 of it to whoever you want. So if somebody builds really cool content that you like seeing, you can give them a dollar, or you can give them $2, or you can give them $10. I think if AOL had set that up to where we could tip people, and it didn't cost us any more money to tip. So to get in, we had to pay, but then once we got in, we could pay. We could divvy out that money however we want. Um, I think then content would be more user driven instead of advertiser driven. You know, so so that's my thoughts. Now, as far as for vibing for coding goes, I think like it makes coding a lot better. And using ChatGPT, I don't. I think the fundamental. Okay, so I think it may really screw up the current way code is done, because I do think that it literally knocks out what I think is probably like 90% of the actual workforce in AI, in software development, like literally, like so many things that just you just like maybe one project manager can do what 10 project managers used to do with AI, and but like the core, so like when every coding job I've ever worked where we had more than like four developers, um, and especially when there was like 10 or 20 developers, it's always been like if there's 20 developers, it's always like there's three developers that like do 90% of the work, and then like the other 10% of the work's done. It's critical, and it's done by the other 17 developers. And what work isn't the right word. The actual hardcore coding is done by like three developers, and then everything else that goes around development, software development, is done by the other 17 developers. And I think ChatGPT makes you only need like one of those 17 developers, and then you probably like if you had 5 or 10 BAs, well, you probably only need two BAs, and you only like it. But I don't think it touches one of the three or four fundamental developers that were doing the vast majority of the work. I think those guys are still absolutely necessary. And like one of the things that kind of came up yesterday in my working with ChatGPT was like I like to have a folder and do an npm init in that folder, and then I have a bunch of projects. So like for the media thing, there's like an application that administrates, so that you can do work on files themselves and FTP and stuff like that. And then there's like another application that is just a server that just serves stuff, and then there's a front end, right? So there's these three projects under the top project. So what I've always done was I've always created a top project and npm in it, and then I have the three sub projects, and they have their own npm projects inside of them. And then if I do an npm install of something, they're all in their own node modules. Well, ChatGPT is like, well, you probably really should use npm workspaces, and so you create a folder. You create a project, and then you create three sub projects, and then each one of those sub projects gets a folder and its own folder and all that. And so I was really surprised because I went into one of the subfolders and I did npm install because I wanted to do Electron. So I did an npm install of Electron, and I was just like, why don't I have a node modules in my folder? And because my node modules was in the parent folder, and so I was just like interacting with ChatGPT. Okay, what's this? This is different than what I was expecting. It's like, yeah, no, you're gonna have, in order to prevent duplication and stuff like that across your projects and to keep them in sync, you're going to, you'll have one node modules, and everything will get built out of that parent's node modules. And I was like, oh, okay. So then I'm thinking through the day about that. I was done with my vibe session, and I'm just sort of going along mowing the lawn, doing all the rest of my stuff. And it dawned on me that, wait a second, I'm going to have two Angular projects. I'm going to have one that's sitting inside of an Electron project, which is going to be pretty much designed around, won't have to worry about what the version of Chrome I'm using is. and it's going to be run on a desktop, and then I'm going to have my gallery, which is probably mostly going to be viewed on phones, on mobile devices. And it's like, I don't think I want. Isn't this going to force me to have the same version of Angular for both of them? And I was like, I don't think I want that. I think I want to be able to have a different version of Angular for the web one than for the um, administrative one. And so I went back in that evening and I was just like, okay, so won't this make deeply couple my versions? And it's like, wow, that's a great insight. And you're exactly right. And then it said, hey, but if you want, you can use PNPN instead of NPN, and then that keeps everything separate. And I was like, oh, what's PNPN? And it started explained what PNPN is, and then I was just like, man, this must be something new. Nah, it's been around for a while, for a long while. I think when I was looking it up, it's been around and pretty heavily used since 2016. So like almost 10 years. I mean, it's ancient. I never heard of it. And you know, like I really wouldn't be able to do that without ChatGPT. Um, but I also wouldn't have got myself into the situation without ChatGPT. I had a way where I didn't get into those situations, um, but I didn't have a way of um, like so like I've never had that problem before where I have different projects and then they have to use the same libraries. I only got into this situation where I might get bound, deeply coupled between projects. Um, I only got into that because of ChatGPT. But then ChatGPT could get me out of it. But if I didn't know what I was doing, if I just vibed and I didn't think through things and I just went as fast as I could, I would probably be in a weird stuck position that I really would be very difficult to understand down the road. So I still think you have to know how to code and you have to understand. You have to break things down. You have to the basic hard parts of coding are still the basic hard parts of coding, and I don't think the AI can help with that. Um, but I do think everything else around it, AI can help with. So, anyways, that's my thought on that. It's the kind of thing doesn't seem like much, but I have seen weird thoughts about AI and things, or about technologies and stuff like that, suddenly go into sort of the mode of, oh, you better not talk about that. That's something you better not talk about. So I definitely wanted to kind of get my thoughts out before the, I don't know, the misinformation people go crazy on things, because you just, a lot of I think the biggest thing to stop, what do you call it, like authoritism attacking free speech is to get the speech out there as fast as possible. The speech gets out there before the authoritarians, the bullies of the world, before they have a chance to shut it down. If we can get that speech out there fast enough, then they won't. They're less likely to do their evil stuff. So, anyways, happy coding, everybody. Bye.